The concept of beaver tails came probably about 2 years ago, and it was sort of in those days leading up to last year's sesquicentennial, thinking about the national sort of symbols that we have. And I was curious of how artists responded in a both personal and investigative way to Canada's national rodent, as unusual as that may seem. And I had the great opportunity of working with these three artists and these very talented sculptors who have assembled these bodies of work that we have here for the next 4 weeks. And I just thought it would be interesting to share some fun facts about beavers, if you'll allow me to. And I was telling my sister we're going to have this Beaver Tails exhibition, and she thought that we would have like a Beaver Tails truck parked outside of the gallery, serving gooey goodness and deep fried dough bread. So who knows? Maybe they might pull up in a case of fearful symmetries in the universe. But anyways, yeah. So fascinating facts about beavers. How many years do you think a beaver can live in the wild? 15? Good guess, yeah. Higher? A little bit higher? Marilyn, what do you think? It seemed like you had your hand up. You've done your research. Well, we know, what do you think? You're living out on Beaver Lake?
28.5.
Very close, yeah. Very close. 24 on average. Beaver is, of course, a mainly nocturnal animal. They used to be giants. This was kind of fascinating. Back in the Ice Age, there was a thing called Castoroids. And these things were giant. And they would be as long as 8 feet and would weigh 200 pounds. They're on our nickels, they're on our postage stamps. Well, heck, they're even on the coat of arms for Whitby. There's a train on there, but there's also a beaver. We've done some train exhibitions, but never a beaver exhibition. Here it is. And I'd like to introduce the alphabetically, I guess we'll go with the first artist. With home ice advantage, we've got Francis Muscat, and he's joining us from Sunderland. He's done a very amazing thing. He's collaborated with beavers that are on his property up north, and all the tooth marks that you see in his sculptures are from the actual beavers, and he's reacted and collaborated with those rodents. Francis, please come on up here. Please welcome Francis Muscat.
Thank you, Alex. It's a nice introduction to this body of work. I kind of work with kind of whatever happens comes my way as a happenstance sort of situation. And I guess it was 2012 when we usually pass our pond and we started to discover the destruction that the beavers have caused in and around our pond. I counted up to 70 trees that came down. Some of them had a girth of about probably 10 inches. So there are quite a few of them, and quite a large size. So I kind of decided, or was trying to figure out what to do about this. And quite a few of my neighbors were just asking if they could help get rid of them. And I kind of felt that was not the way I wanted to go. So looking at the destruction, I really got very excited about what I saw, and especially this piece here. There was the tension in the tear and fibers that were separated from the wood, that I thought, I'd like to work with this. And this is the way I work. I work with what sort of comes my way. So my history is glassworking mainly, but so I decided to add other material with the wood. And basically, this is about that kind of tension, and I accentuate it with the glass and the metal. So I also responded emotionally with what was going on, and there were pieces that made me mad, so I sort of responded in anger and a sense of loss about the trees. But majority of the work is reflective of my idea of rebuilding, about reconstruction. So as you probably discovered, there's a great deal of architectural kind of elements in the work. So the work that you see in this room is fairly, actually, this is from the body of work from 2013, but the rest of the work is contemporary, or sorry, is new, is like from this year. So I went out on the search looking for more Beaver work, and I wanted to keep evidence of their work. It was a collaborative process, and looking at the way they also took down the trees, the way they worked and carving was very methodical. There was order to it, and I thought that was very fascinating. So I kept that collaborative, or I wanted to keep that collaborative impulse in there with the work. So I guess that's all I have to say about the work. I'll be glad to answer questions for anybody who is interested. I want to thank Olix and the Station Gallery for the opportunity to show the second portion of the Beaver show, and the Ontario Arts Council also. And that's it. Thank you.
The next artist that I'd like to introduce, I didn't realize this, but our paths had actually crossed decades and decades, and we probably weren't aware of it. And it was a place in Toronto called OCA. And since then, OCA has got a D, and now a U as well. And we were there at the same time in art college. And it's been great getting to know him and working with him on a couple of projects that are on display. One on display here with the light box. And in the far gallery, we have a massive fleet of beavers, in this case aviationally speaking, de Havilland beavers. And Frank is originally from a small hamlet in northern Ontario called Uppsala. And there's another artist who we work with, Michael Belmore. He's also from Uppsala. We've had the great opportunity on working with Michael on 2 occasions in the past. And joining us from Ottawa is Frank Shebageget. Please welcome Frank.
Thanks, it's great to be here. I guess I'll talk about the perfume bottles a little bit. A lot of my work derives from just narratives, so like family narratives, historical narratives. I kind of use my family as inspiration in my work. So the narrative that goes along with Castor's Castorian is that as a child growing up in the late 70s and early 80s, my father, who was, I guess, semi-retired, a hunting guy, and then in the winter, he would do trapping. Trapping beavers, martins, were kind of the 2 main ones, the animals that so the way it would work, again, we would go trap, bring back the beavers. We had a small table that my dad would skin the beavers in the living room, while we're all watching TV. The one thing I regret was that there was actually, at the peak of hunting season, like basically every square inch of the house would be covered with stretch beavers. In the hallway, in the living room, wherever you could put a board, like there was stretchers everywhere. So like the smell of drying hide is like kind of a memory that I had. But there's no documentation whatsoever in my family about this at all. So my dad would, would skin the beaver, take the carcass, throw it out on the front steps, and even those some visual imagery, it just kind of makes me laugh, just because we lived on the Trans-Canada Highway. So like sometimes there would be like 3 or 4 carcasses in the snowbank, like just outside the door. So it's like, it just makes you wonder what people think we're piling up outside of our house. So, and then at certain points, my mother she would go outside with a knife, and then she'd like start cutting up the carcass, and then pull out these sacks, and then take them down to the basement and tie them up with strings and hang them from the joists and the support beams in the basement, and let them dry out. And then I just asked her, like, why do you do this? And I was like 5 or something like that. And she was like, they make perfume out of them. I was like, so my dad was a cologne guy, so he would spray cologne on. It makes me wonder, like, people would wear like this like animal smell. It's kind of just always peculiar to me. So, and then find out later, like, yeah, they're sweat glands from the beaver. So I just thought I would, like, I was able to get hold of just do some mutual friends, people that trap still now, around the Ottawa area. I was able to get beaver casters. So the idea was to actually just like make bottles out of the casters. So that's what I did here. So these are just resin-based bottles. So I started playing with you walk into cosmetic stores and you see all the perfume bottles, and it's always bottom lit or backlit. So like, there's a real aesthetic with like the perfume industry. Just a whole, lots to work with, like the animal itself, the perfume industry, cosmetic counters, fashion industry. So it kind of just expands. So, and
what about the planes, sir?
The planes too?
Yeah.
Okay. The planes that you'll see in the last room, I think, what did it say? There was 210 airplanes in this installation. This is kind of like the 3rd generation of the de Havilland Beaver airplane. The original, the Ottawa Work Alley owns, which was I wanted to make, once I started researching, and this also goes along with my father, where like he was a fisherman, and then he would do fly out fishing, and then like, so I was always kind of around like where you would see these bush planes, and then sort of kind of like the idea, same thing with the animal, that the airplane is kind of like an iconic object that is Canadian. And I just wanted to relate it to First Nations people, just to people that grow up in kind of isolated areas and in rural countries, water-based communities. The original installation, I made the whole fleet of de Havilland Beaver airplanes, which is 1,692 airplanes. So I made them all by hand out of basswood. And then I had them hanging from the ceiling as a swarm. I was hoping it to look like kind of like a flight squadron. My original idea was that it would be like a swarm of bees. Like you see one plane in the front, and you just see the rest of from behind it. But it kind of turned into more of a school of more kind of peaceful and docile. And that's what the plane is. Its features are that it can take off and land in small lakes, and then I think it's kind of like a bumblebee where it shouldn't really fly. So it goes slow, but it's the workhorse of the aviation planes for the north when it was expanding. So this one is I've had it as a curtain of beavers, where it was just kind of a line, I need a curtain kind of airplanes. And then I kind of played with the positioning of the planes, where just being located kind of in southern Canada, that the planes kind of fly in 3 directions, like north, east, and west, and kind of spreading out, kind of exploring and expanding. And then I just sort of changed the shape where here it's kind of more of like a column and a pillar, so and just flying out in all directions. So it's kind of like this expansion of this airplane into exploring, and just that it was one of Canada's greatest inventions with this plane, and just how it was a successful product. So I think that's about it.
Moving right along, the fascinating facts about beavers, the last one that I'll share. Their dams can be enormous. In fact, in 2007, with the help of satellite imagery, they were able to find the largest dam in the wilds of northern Alberta. And they found a dam there that was, can anyone guess how big this one was? How many meters? How big was it? 850 meters deep. Isn't that amazing? And scientists believe that generations of beavers were contributing to the construction of this dam since the 1970s. So it's a fascinating fact, a fun fact. And I'd like to call up next an artist which has created this magnificent structure by casting all 800 sticks and logs in resin. And it's been quite a process of taking 2.5 years to create this. And it's been wonderful working with you, Anna, and visiting with you in Ottawa. And today you're joining us from the nation's capital. And to tell us a little bit more about Canada House, please, everyone, give a warm Whitby welcome to none other than Anna Wiliams.
I really want to thank Alex and everyone here at the Station Gallery for having a lot of faith in this project. And when Alex first came for a studio visit a few years ago, I held up one stick and it was like this, but a lot more. And he was like, sure, let's do it. And so here we are. And so this piece is comprised of the lodge and then the 3 bronze beavers and then the audio component from where the lodge was taken, and then there's a slap of a beaver's tail that silences the audio component, and then there's a period of silence. So it's not broken. That's what you've been hearing throughout the piece. And so this lodge was on my parents' land, and it had been abandoned. And so I sort of started passing by it and looking at it and thinking about it and kind of watching it start to rot, and then I was like, I gotta do something with that. And so I sort of started taking it apart and cleaning all the pieces, and I had everything stored, and then I got a Canada Council grant to start buying the resin and the rubber and start doing this project. And it's been a really lovely kind of opportunity to think about our relationship to nature and what we've lost in our passage from nature to culture, and to create that moment where we from it, but our need to find our way back. And the beavers are this incredible creature where they're the only other kind of living thing that alters the environment in a way to suit their own, not ecology's needs. Like that's the way humanity comes when it comes into a new environment. And this interplay between the materials of the resin being this fragile, kind of ghostly experience, and then the beavers having this weight and hierarchy and presence of the bronze. And then we sort of stand in as the beavers, that they're confidently building this house out of glass, convinced of this illusion of permanence, not acknowledging the fragility of the ecosystem that they're inhabiting. And it's really kind of echoes our modern kind of blueprint for progress, and how that blueprint is coming at a steep price and one that we can't really afford anymore. And so I just wanted to kind of, I'll just quickly wrap it up, and you guys can stop me and ask any questions, because I know it's always kind of an interesting process. But, just create this idea that, things are shifting, and that we have to shift with them, and we have to heed these warnings. And when, and get back to that balanced partnership, or when there's a slap on the leg that's telling us to alter our course and to be wary of the environment that we're in, that it takes a moment for us to acknowledge that, and to find a way to shift with the landscape, to be able to kind of emotionally and physically navigate things as the world gets warmer. So thank you all for coming, and thanks so much again to the incredible installation team who supported us through this. And very exciting.
I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the great team that we have here at Station Gallery under the direction of Carrie. So thank you all. You're a dream team, a real A team. So it's always a pleasure. And also I'd like to acknowledge the Ontario Arts Council that helped us with our operations funds. We just found out from last week that we did get our operations funds for next year as well. So, yay! Celebrations all around. But I think I'll just wrap it up, and please stick around. There's a lot happening in the community with the digital art symposium at the Robert McLaughlin Gallery. We have right next door at the Ability Center, we have a Veggie Fest happening there. So it really means a lot to all of us that you took time out of your Saturday afternoon to join us here at Station Gallery. So thank you all, and now we dance. Yay!